going live. Got it. All right. I think we're live. It's setting it up, but I think it's live. So we'll just assume it's live.
Yep, it's live.
You see it? Okay, it's live. All right.
Going live.
Oh boy. Now I'm gonna turn that off. Okay.
I don't
Hey,
see
Warren.
myself though. I only see you.
Oh, well, we don't want that. There? Do you see it now?
Now I see me and I see only me.
No. Maybe it's the way that your view is set up.
Maybe it's
I think that's on you. You got it?
There we go. Now
Okay.
we're good.
All right, Warren, how's it going?
Hello, I'm doing well, thank you. How about yourself?
Good. How's the weather there in Florida?
We have beautiful weather as usual in Florida. Our winter ended a couple days ago. After it dipped into the 50s briefly, it's now over and we're back to normal.
Nice. It
Like
dipped
nice
into
mom.
the 50s. Wow, what a shame. Well, I know that we both have been talking about how we wish that we could be in Boca Chica on Thursday.
Yes.
Yeah. So
unfortunately, I can't make it, and unfortunately, I guess you can't make it either. It's very short notice.
yeah, seriously.
I have a bunch of things going on in my life that made it impossible for me to go.
I will be there February 18th through the 20th. So I am going. Unfortunately, the timing is, I feel like there will still be plenty of fun stuff to cover while I'm there. But yeah, let's talk about this upcoming presentation. It's the first update in 2 years. We've waited for so long. And I know that you have, you tweeted me that you have some things in particular that you were really interested in hearing about.
So I'm concerned that we won't learn that much because we already know a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Elon has tweeted a lot along the way. He was interviewed by Lex Friedman recently, and he gave a lot of depth in the Lex Friedman interview. So I don't know, and he had the Everyday Astronaut interview with Tim Dodd before that. So I feel like we've already got a lot of ideas about what's coming. We know about the chopsticks and the, what's it called, Mechazilla.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not sure how much we're going to learn at this presentation other than being told what we already know. So
Right. Isn't that crazy? We saw the chopsticks and they were like being welded on the ground.
Yes, we were there when they were getting ready to assemble the chopsticks. But
crazy.
We have a pretty good idea of what Starship's mission is, what they're going to try to achieve. He mentioned things about having like a tanker Starship. There's a lot of details that has already been provided. And the one thing that I think is left out there is what I mentioned was Elon had a tweet. I think he had two different tweets over the last 6 months. One where he mentioned that they would be working on experimental designs, I think at the California factory. And then he had this other tweet where he said that Raptor needs a complete design overhaul, and the engine that will make life multiplanetary will not be named Raptor. So I think there's this interesting question: is Elon going to reveal any information about the next generation of Starship engine, or is it just going to be about? I think we still have something to learn about Raptor too. Like,
right.
There were problems manufacturing it at scale. Have they solved the problems with manufacturing Raptor 2?
Right.
What are the prospects for when the launch is going to happen, right? Because we were hoping for orbital launch by now. When is orbital launch going to happen? But I don't know. He can tell us that.
Yeah.
So I'm puzzled. My biggest concern is that it's just going to be all information we already know, which we don't need a presentation for that.
Yeah, right. Still exciting.
Yes.
But yeah, you make good points. Let's fill people in a little bit more. I'm sure most people know about the Raptor 2 engines, but they're just essential to get those in production.
Yeah, well, the problem was Elon had this concern. I think this was around Thanksgiving, that they were struggling to manufacture Raptor 2, getting the manufacturing down, and called in like an all hands weekend, basically ruined everybody's Thanksgiving weekend to fix whatever was going on with Raptor 2 production. My guess is they fixed whatever the problem was, because we haven't heard about it since, but we're still sort of left, is he going to say what the problems were? Is he going to say where they stand now? Is he going to talk about, because, in order to, the goal is to make a really large number of Starships and super heavies. And to do that, you need an insane number of Raptors, the engines to power the booster and the Starship. So are we going to learn more about that? if you're going to make 10 boosters and each one of them has 33 engines, then you need 330 Raptors. And then if you're going to have 20 Starships and each Starship's going to have 6 Raptors, was it up to 9 now? Didn't he say the Starship was going to go to 9 Raptors? I think he said Starship's going to go to 9 Raptors. So then you need another 180 Raptors. So there's a lot of, you need to produce a high volume of Raptor engines, then you've got to be able to produce the Starships. So there's a lot going on there. So I don't know what we're going to learn. Is he going to talk about the manufacturing process? You know, the launch process doesn't seem that complicated, right? We already know what launch looks like. Bringing the second stage back into the atmosphere is going to be a challenge to land. That's going to be the really hard thing. I think we are all pretty confident they can manage to get into orbit.
Yeah.
But getting the second stage back from orbit is going to be the real challenge.
How excited are you to see it fully stacked?
I don't know that fully stacked is that exciting because we've seen fully stacked before. I think the real excitement is going to be the launch, whenever that's going to be.
Right.
And you kind of wonder how much video are they going to get of Starship coming back when it's coming back near Hawaii, right? The Starship's going to fly back and hopefully do a soft touchdown off the coast of Kauai, was it? You know, will they be able to get good video of that? Will they be able to get enough information from that to learn? Because it's probably not going to work. You know, the first try, there's a good chance it's going to blow up. So are they going to learn enough from that they'll be able to figure it out?
So I'm reading some of the comments here. And William says, you're waiting on the FAA. Elon would have already launched if it were his control. Do you think that's entirely true? From everything you know?
I think it's possible. I think they would have launched with Raptor 1 engines and failed and learned. I think he's ready to, you know, as long as he's being held up, they're going to continue developing the engineering. They're going to throw away the Raptor 1 engines anyway, so you might as well, you know, wreck something on it. I'm actually curious. Victor Rodriguez said he met me at a picnic in upstate New York in 2004. I'm trying to figure out, where were we in 2004? Was that near Albany, Victor? So.
Yeah.
Marvin says anytime Elon talks is interesting. I don't think that's true. I think a lot of times Elon gets interviewed and the questions are stuff we already know. And it's one of my big, I think Greg says Lex Friedman's interview with Elon was epic. I actually have recorded Lex's interview with Elon, and I'm planning on making a series of videos based on that interview. That was a really good interview. But even Lex didn't ask him about the next generation engine.
I was going to say, you've always told me, like, if you had a chance to interview Elon, you would ask these questions that people don't ask him.
Right. Don't ask him stuff he's already answered, because then you're just going to get the same stock answer we've already heard, and it's boring.
Right. And his time is valuable. And, you know, anytime Elon, oh, okay, now I see that. Yeah. And I did want to talk about a little kind of update on Starlink. I have a source, an inside source who emails me periodically. And he says that in the next month or so, we can expect an announcement that Dishy will be mobile and no longer geo-restricted. So
awesome.
I mean, for what it's worth, I know it's kind of like, you know, a rumor, but this person has been spot on with every single little leaked information that they've sent me. So that's exciting for a lot of people.
Well, I have a Starlink on order, and I have this idea that we're going to be traveling the country in an RV. My girlfriend and I are going to be traveling the country in an RV in the near future. So having Starlink with us would make that much more viable.
Heck yeah. All right. Have you decided what you're going to get to do that with?
Well, the hope is that I have a Cybertruck.
Yeah.
And get a travel trailer to pull behind the Cybertruck. So we'll see. I mean, it's all got to come together, right?
Yeah. What else is exciting in your Elon universe right now? I mean, I know that you obviously talk a lot of Tesla.
Well, I think Boring Company getting through to the resorts world. So this is the real start of the Vegas loop, right? We have the Las Vegas Convention Center loop, but the Boring Company tunneling system has now reached the first casino. And that's the step towards having a full system in Las Vegas of 29 miles and reaching 51 destinations. And that's going to be a big deal. Victor, I don't remember this picnic in Bethlehem. I'm sorry. I know Bethlehem, New York. I remember being at a picnic in Bethlehem. So yeah, I mean, I think that's exciting. I think Giga Texas and Giga Berlin getting ready to open are really exciting. I think developments with full self-driving are really exciting. You get to this point where you get so into it, because I'm so into it, that it's like it doesn't happen fast enough.
Yeah.
We're all on the edge of our seats waiting for the first vehicles to be delivered from Giga Texas and
Yes.
Giga Berlin.
Someone made a good comment earlier in this thread here saying that, this presentation is probably going to be more for the general public who don't follow what's going on at Starbase 24/7. So what do you think about that?
I mean, yeah. I think that's probably true, that we're going to get a lot of the same. That's why I'm saying it might be boring. It might be the same detail that we're all used to seeing. And that's why I'm hoping, that's why I tweeted to you and to Scott Manley and Marcus House and Everyday Astronaut to ask about those two tweets, because that would be something we don't know. Right. So, for me, it's always when Elon is speaking and you get a chance to ask him a question, don't ask him something we already know the answer to. Ask him a question we don't know the answer to.
All right. Well, I'll be there. I'll be there in 2 weeks, Warren. So tell me how to get a hold of Elon.
I don't have that answer for you.
Well, he's liked your tweets, and so maybe you say, hey, we have some questions. I'm sending my my friend.
He wanted to answer that, because I did ask that question publicly, and I don't need to tag him to get his reply sometimes. So if he wanted to answer on Twitter, he doesn't have to answer the question, but if somebody asks him the question at a Starship presentation, he might not answer, right? Sometimes people ask questions about Tesla and, due to competitive pressures or whatever, he says, can't really answer that right now. But Starship doesn't really have the same competitive pressures. So I wonder if he might be willing to answer that question if the question was asked at the right time. So that's why I'm so frustrated with Lex Friedman. Lex should have known to ask that.
Oh, no.
Love Lex. I'm this like monster Lex Friedman fan. I can't believe he didn't ask that.
I am also planning to drive past, Giga Texas and go to Austin. So tell me what your experience was like, because you went there like, what, September was it? It was a while ago.
I've seen Giga Texas twice in person, 3 times.
Oh, wow.
I mean, I saw it once after Starbase, and then flew out to Los Angeles and drove back. And then I think I saw it twice that next day or two. I think Giga Texas, it's a big building, right? It's not really that, it's exciting the first time you see it. It's exciting the second or third time you see it, but at a certain point, it's like, okay, you really want to know what's inside.
Yeah.
You really want to see it actually producing. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah. I think Starbase seems a lot more exciting because so much of it is just right there exposed, from the road.
Starbase is really cool. Yeah, for those who haven't been to the southern tip of Texas, going to the southern tip of Texas, visiting Starbase, there's a whole lot of reasons to go. Ellie has 1 or 2 videos about our time there. I have 1 or 2 videos about our time there. There's so much to see. You can see, it's like you can actually see the operations happening in front of you, because it's basically an open air factory and an open air launch site.
Right.
And it's kind of unusual. You're sort of going basically to the Mexican border to see where Starship is being built and being operated. And then when you come back, you got to go through border control, even though you never actually left the United States. And the Rio Grande is right there. There's so many different angles where you can get a view. You can go to Rocket Ranch, you can go to the southern tip of South Padre. There's other spots on South Padre, and I forget the name of the other spot we were at. There's all these different spots where you have different angles to see everything that's going on. It's really exciting.
So this time I think I'm actually going to try to go to Mexico.
Oh, you're going to head over there?
I'm going to try.
Not the swimming part, right? You're going to go over to...
Yeah,
you're going to go over the regular way in.
Yeah, that didn't work so well last time.
You have a passport?
What was that?
You have a passport?
I do. And I'm staying at Rocket Ranch, so I'm really excited for that.
Good.
Because we just got like a little walk around tour, but I think it'll be really cool to stay there. And just see all the progress that they've made. I mean, so much has changed in just the short amount of time since we've been there. It'll be really cool to see kind of all of those changes. And I'm curious, when they do have the launch, are you going to go?
I'm hoping to go, yes. I mean, it sort of depends how much notice do we have and what's going on. I would like to go. I'm hoping to go. Definitely want to go. We'll see how I thought I would go to this. And it turns out that life gets complicated. So I'll probably go. Somebody asked this question, what's your take on using hydrogen instead of gas and lithium, the ultimate freedom fuel? I'm not sure whether SidWorks is referring to hydrogen for vehicles or hydrogen for the rockets. For vehicles, hydrogen doesn't make a lot of sense because the cost of producing the hydrogen makes the process so inefficient that it's not worth doing. And lithium is inexpensive and straightforward and reusable. For rockets, I think methalox is certainly the idea of using methalox for the rockets, methane and liquid oxygen certainly seems like the lowest cost, best plan, especially if you want to make fuel on Mars to come back or on the moon to come back.
Now, someone also is asking, what's the question again that Lex Friedman didn't ask? Can you just recap for people that don't know?
About 6 months ago, I'm guessing it was maybe a little longer, a little shorter ago, Elon tweeted that I believe it's McAllen, Texas is going to be manufacturing Raptor 2.
McGregor, I think. Is it McGregor?
Thank you. I think McGregor is in McAllen, Texas, whatever.
Help us, people.
The SpaceX facility close to Starbase, it's about an hour away, will be manufacturing, you're probably right, we'll be manufacturing Raptor 2 engines. And then I forget what's happening at, let me see if I can find this tweet. Oh, actually, no, I think I tweeted about this. Let me see if I can find my tweet.
You have a lot of tweets that might take a while.
Okay, so no, here it is. So the previous tweet was, we're breaking ground soon on a second Raptor factory at SpaceX Texas test site, which I believe is McAllen or McGregor or whatever. And this will focus on volume production of Raptor 2, while California factory will make Raptor vacuum and new experimental designs. So Raptor vacuum is the engine that goes on Starship rather than Super Heavy. It's one of the, Starship has two types of engines, and it's going to have Raptor 2 and it's going to have Raptor vacuum. Raptor vacuum has the bigger bells, so that the engines are more efficient in space. But it says we'll make Raptor vacuum and new experimental designs. Like, wait a minute, they're working on new experimental engine designs. I want to know about that. Mm-hmm. And then the more recent tweet, which was November, Elon said Raptor 2 has significant improvements in every way, but a complete design overhaul is necessary for the engine that can actually make life multiplanetary. It won't be called Raptor. So that suggests that this, between the new experimental designs and the fact that they need a design overhaul for Raptor 2, suggests that Elon has some other mission in mind. And so let's see, one was July 10, 2021 from Elon, and the other one was November 16th, 2021 from Elon. So no one has asked him about those two tweets. What are the new experimental designs they're working on, and what's this complete design overhaul? What are the goals of the complete design overhaul? Presumably lower cost of manufacturing, ability to manufacture in higher volume, higher thrust, higher BAR. You know what? But is it just for vacuum purposes, or is that also for atmospheric purposes? There's a lot of questions that could be asked about that, and they weren't asked. Let's see. John Beek says, I live in Texas and driven by the McGregor test site west of Waco, about 10 miles. Oh, so it's not McAllen, it's McGregor. Okay.
Yeah, I got something right.
It was McAllen, Texas, but they're saying it's McGregor, which is near Waco, which fits with what we read in Countdown. That fits with the story in Countdown too.
Hey, by the way, Warren, I'm getting distracted by your naked cat behind you.
Oh, was the cat behind me?
It's like crawling around. Is it nice to hold? Is he still visible? He was like on the stove.
He's a very sweet cat.
There's a hairless cat that Warren has.
He's a very sweet cat.
I'm sure we would all love to see him if he comes close to you. So yeah. Feel free to grab him.
I do not grab the cat.
Okay.
It's not something that I do.
Oh man.
The cat might grab me. I do not grab the cat.
Yeah. So wish that I could be there. You know.
So Greg Smith asked, do we think SpaceX will produce their own liquid methane and oxygen instead of having it trucked in? I know they've talked about using the Sabatier process, solar panels, the Sabatier process, and I think ocean water to produce liquid methane and liquid oxygen. As far as I know, they haven't taken any steps towards actually doing it. I think the other interesting thing we could talk about that maybe will come up in the Starship presentation that we don't know much about yet is what are they doing at Canaveral? I just saw a tweet the other day with some, or maybe it was a video the other day with some photos from Canaveral showing that they're working on developing Starship launch facilities at Canaveral.
Right.
Where are they going to manufacture Starship for Canaveral? How are they going to do those operations? You probably know, I think that Canaveral will actually be a bigger source of operations for Starship than the southern tip of Texas. I'm not sure I'm correct about that, but that's a hunch. And I think Elon said that there was another tweet that he had where he said that the launch structure they're building at Canaveral would be more advanced than the one at Starbase. So
I didn't see that one.
Yeah. Yep. John Beek says foundations are going into Kennedy Space Center. There's a fuel tower at Starbase. So yeah, I mean, I think that's probably the other thing I would want to learn that we don't know much about yet is what are the plans for Starship at Canaveral, and what are the long-term plans for launch facilities? What's going to happen with the oil rigs? You know, they got those oil rigs and they were supposedly fitting them up to try to be able to launch Starship and catch Starship on the oil rigs. Did they give up on that idea? Are they still working on that idea? I think Elon was asked about it at one point, maybe by Tim Dodd, and he kind of downplayed it.
Yeah, when was the last time you really heard any discussion about that?
Haven't heard anything about them at all. I don't know that they've stopped working on them. I think maybe it just turned out maybe that's not as easy as it looks. So, you know, I think the challenge with launching from Starbase is it's so close to South Padre Island, and you've got 33 Raptor 2 engines going full bore. How difficult does that become for the population of South Padre Island, only 4.5 miles away? Is that going to be a disruption to life at the southern tip of Texas? And is it going to be so much of a disruption that they're going to be limited in how many launches they can do? Where Canaveral is further from human populations by at least a few miles. So it might make it more viable to do more there. Jude says payload integration is also much easier in Florida. Yeah, the thing is that this is the other point about why Canaveral is an advantage. And Jude, thank you for commenting that. The southern tip of Texas, there's just not a lot of resources, infrastructure, population. There's no major universities nearby. There's no engineering population nearby. It's no like place that, you know, if you bring your family to work at Starbase, there's no place for your family to go for fun when you have time off or when the family wants to go somewhere. Where if you locate at Canaveral, you're an hour from Disney World and Universal Studios and all the great stuff in Orlando. You're not far from Jacksonville. You're not far from Daytona Beach and St. Augustine. And there's so much to do in South Florida. And you've got University of Central Florida, University of Florida, Florida Atlantic University. There's a lot of universities, University of Tampa, University of South Florida. There's a lot of universities within, 1, 2, 3 hours. So there's a lot more infrastructure and population to support doing a lot more. And the local population on the Space Coast is used to launches.
Right.
It's not like a new thing. They're all excited about launches, and people come. I've seen 3 or 4 launches now from Canaveral, and people come from miles away to watch them. If you want to go watch a launch from somewhere far, from somewhere that's not right there at Canaveral, you've got to come from Houston or San Antonio, which is a 6-hour drive. Where you can watch. I've literally watched launches from my backyard in Boca Raton, Florida. So it's not, you don't get a great view, but you can see them.
Right.
So
right.
People in South Florida and the Space Coast in particular love it. So there's a lot more support for it.
And they're used to it. And, when we kind of surveyed locals in Boca Chica, they were like, hey, we don't really want to change the name of our town. And, they kind of had, mixed reactions, I'd say about.
Well, we had a limited sample. We know there's some politicians there who are really on board with it, but, will the population as a whole like it? And like I said, there's no university program with great engineers coming right out of there, but University of Central Florida is so close to Canaveral. Right. University of Florida is not very far away. And University of South Florida, there's a lot of Embry-Riddle's not far away either. Embry-Riddle University. So there's a lot of potential talent close to Canaveral. So I think it's a lot more attractive in that way.
Serial Port says, as someone who has worked on oil rigs like the ones Musk bought, I can't imagine the expense and engineering involved in converting them to launch landing platforms.
Well, I mean, that's what Elon Musk companies do. They do things that people can't imagine someone would do. So I don't think that's impossible.
It's a good answer.
Oh, Timothy Brescier says you forget the rockets are built from stainless. Most stainless steel welders are from south of the border. There is an ample supply of labor south of the border. We did meet some contractors. I don't know whether they were living south of the border. I think there's a lot of steel workers available in South Florida as well, in the Space Coast area.
Alan says, Ellie, you're going to be kicking yourself if you leave Boca on the 20th and they get EPA approval and launch March 1st.
Yep, we all will.
We all will. It is hard to it's hard to navigate these things when there's such little notice, especially to get down to Boca Chica. Am I right, Warren?
Yes.
Yeah. But if that is true, I will try to go back. I literally will. Although Greg
well, the other issue is that launch can be scheduled, and right. launch windows change. So when they say we're going to launch March 1st and you get there and then it launches a week later, that can be difficult.
Then you could also be very upset about the outcome. So
I think I have the freedom that I'll be able to go and hang out for a week, but we'll see.
March, yeah. Well, the question is, will it actually be in March?
We just don't know. But we're going to find out when we find out. I don't know that we're going to get that answer on Thursday.
Yeah.
I think, Elon is optimistic about when it's going to go, but you keep getting environmental reviews, and FAA has this issue. And I think that this going to full stack is probably going to full stack because they think they're ready on the engineering side of it. Mm-hmm. I think if I'm following NASA space flights channel correctly, that there are additional boosters being built, additional Starships being built. So they're ready to launch the first one and do more. Oh, Safe Moon James says launch will be on April 20th, 420. Very good.
I mean, that wouldn't surprise me. Oh, I like this. Professor Redlich of the Musk Institute of Technology.
Texas Institute of Technology, of course. Texas Institute of Technology and Science. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm all set. I got my Tesla Air shirt on to cover my boobs. So the FAA should have no say on space launches, Mark Overton.
Did you just
Elon
grab...
doesn't.
Did Elon you just grab your boobs, Warren?
I did. The Texas Institute of Technology and Science. Yes. And Elon makes the jokes. I just back him up. So Mark Overton says the FAA should have no say on space launches. While I'd like to agree with that, unfortunately, we live in that regulatory environment, and Elon seems to feel like he doesn't complain that much about the FAA that I've seen.
Hey, Warren, I want to talk to you about that cruise that, scrubbed that launch.
Yes.
That's in your neck of the woods.
Somebody made a mistake. I actually don't know that much about it. Presumably somebody, you want to blame, I think they're blaming the captain of the ship, but you have to know, there's communication between the captain of the ship and the port, and who knows what happened there. I don't think we have full details yet, do we?
No, at last check, they were kind of still investigating it. I mean, we did learn it was like a Royal Caribbean cruise, but some people asked some really good questions that I just don't have the answer to, of how much does it cost to scrub that attempt, and how much, if this, is this being cited? Do they have to pay a penalty? Those are great questions. I
have a feeling that if SpaceX incurred a cost, that they'll probably eat it. It probably costs something, but they have scrubs all the time, and they want to have a good relationship with the cruise ship industry, because that's the other issue with Canaveral is if the cruise industry is going to interfere with Canaveral launches, then all of a sudden Starbase looks better because there's no cruises launching from southern tip of Texas.
Not yet.
Dusty Rhodes asks, where is Roberts Road? I just go on Google Maps and search for Roberts Road, Canaveral. It's I want to say it's a few miles away.
Oh, wow. We got someone in Ireland watching us. Wow. That is so cool. Warren is low-key frisky. Are you?
Well, apparently my boob grab was a frisky thing.
It surprised me. I'm not going to do that. Patrick says Elon has too many government contracts to disregard a branch of the government.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know if Patrick says Roberts Road is within 5 miles of 39A. I'm not sure about that. I think it's within 5 miles of Canaveral of the base, but I don't think it's within 5 miles of pad 39A, which is pretty deep into Canaveral. What the map that I saw, I don't think it's that close there, but I'd have to look again.
I'm bummed because I was supposed to be going to Florida at the end of this month, and that mission has been pushed to March. The crude Axiom, you know the one I'm talking about? Yeah. So things get moved and plans change. I can't sit around in Florida for a month, sadly.
So Ellie, somebody asked you this question. Did Scott Maley indicate if he was going to Boca Chica? Is he going to be at the Starship presentation?
Oh, for sure not. Yeah, he's not going to be at the presentation. And I asked him if, well, he's never been to Boca Chica. I highly doubt he would be at the presentation. And in terms of would he be at the launch, it sounds like he probably won't be. He's one of those, it takes, he has a family, he has logistics that make just hopping on a plane kind of hard. So I doubt it.
We have a viewer from Japan. Dozo yoroshiku onegai itashimasu.
Yes, speak more Japanese, please. Tell us really quickly about Starship in Japanese.
Starship wa okina mono desu. I don't know space Japanese.
What about just
restaurant Japanese?
Yeah, let's so Warren and I went to a Japanese restaurant and he just whipped out speaking Japanese, and
I speak restaurant Japanese.
Well, you speak pretty good Japanese. It was very impressive.
No. Americans are always impressed when I say "Otearai wa doko desho ka," which means "Where's the bathroom?" Yeah. Mike wants to know if you're moving to Brownsville.
Oh, when am I moving to Brownsville? Well, I don't know.
Not yet.
Yeah, I definitely want to make more trips down there, but it is kind of hard to get to.
So Safe Moon James asked a question I really like. He said, SpaceX does not need to go public. Astra scrubbed in their stock tank. What's my opinion on that? I do not think SpaceX will go public. I think Starlink will be spun off and go public. I think it's possible that other aspects of SpaceX could go public at some point in the future, like launch services. But I think the long-term mission to establish a colony on Mars is something that cannot be subject to quarterly earnings reports, and Elon won't let it. So that part of SpaceX will remain private indefinitely, and Elon's basically the customer. So it doesn't need to be public.
Let's see. So Greg says Will from Space News Pod moved down there a few months ago. Wonder if he will be there. I actually saw he tweeted that he filled out a form to be, part of the media covering it. So hopefully, people that want to go can go. There weren't that many details initially on who could go, just kind of Thursday at 8, be there, be square.
I thought about going. It was going to be really expensive flights. And then I don't know that I would be able to get on a plane because I had COVID recently. And I don't know that I would get into the event, and it's just not worth it. And especially because I'm concerned that the event may not be that informative.
Right.
Videotapes, you'll see it anyway.
I was going to say, that was my other thing, is like, it's going to be covered all over the place. I mean, yes, I would love to provide my own coverage, but hey, I'm going to be there in 2 weeks and I'm going to be talking to Lab Padre. I'm going to have all these, really cool interviews and coverage that the major networks won't have.
No. So I don't know if you want to address the question about Elon being excluded from the electric vehicle leadership council. It's pretty obvious by an account named Let's Go Brandon, which I find amusing. I am not a fan of how the current administration is treating Elon Musk, SpaceX, or Tesla.
Yeah, tell us more about that. And I mean, why?
Well, it's just the Biden administration has been doing these events where they're talking about electric vehicles, and they're inviting GM and Ford, who are pathetic in their efforts to make electric vehicles. Tesla made 936,000 electric vehicles last year. And thanks to Bernard for your support for Ellie's channel. And I think it's absurd that they're having an EV event. They're not inviting the company that is leading the world in EVs.
Wasn't there like a meme or a video made that like they can't, or maybe Elon tweeted that like
Elon tweeted it.
they can't
Starts with a
say
T, ends with
Tesla.
an A, SL, ESL in the middle. Yeah. No, Elon's been torturing a little bit. UK's here. SpaceX wa mononaku Starship wo something shimasu.
What?
Read that, Kev. I don't have my interpreter handy. I could put it in Google Translate. That last bit, I don't know.
Southwest London in the house. Hello. It's pretty cool. I saw someone else.
Yeah, no, it's there's a variety of reasons why the Biden administration is mistreating Elon and Tesla or ignoring Elon and Tesla. One theory is that it's because Biden is supported by Jim Chanos, who is a famous Tesla short. Another theory is it's because of the United Auto Workers. Maybe it's both. It seems really dumb. I actually think so my political predictions are often terrible. I'm often wrong. I think it's an incredibly stupid move on the part of the Biden administration because, Elon's following is probably half Democrat. It's maybe more than half Democrat. Tesla's customers are more than half Democrat. The proportionally more Democrats than Republicans in Tesla's following. And thanks for your support. Let's go, Brandon. So it's not like, treating Elon this way is going to get you Republican votes, but it might cost you Democrat votes. It's not like the Democrats are going to rally behind Biden because he's having this tip with Elon. Like the Democrats who like Elon. He has 72 million followers on Twitter. He's just a very popular guy. So getting in a fight with it, it'd be like picking a fight with Michael Jordan or Shaquille O'Neal. What are you doing? You've got this popular person and you're picking a fight with a popular person. That's going to hurt the Democratic Party in the next election, right? Assuming that I know what I'm talking about, which I often don't. So
it is interesting though. Oh, wow.
Andrew says, how has the administration treated SpaceX? They have never mentioned SpaceX either. Look, when the previous guy was president and SpaceX launched humans to space, to the space station, the previous president showed up and congratulated Elon and said a lot of nice things about Elon. The current president has never mentioned Elon, has never mentioned SpaceX by name, acts like they don't exist. Elon's fan base knows it. And to the extent that Elon's fan base is Democrat, which is roughly half, some of them might decide not to vote Democrat because you're crapping on their favorite guy. It just does. I don't see what the gain is for doing that. Who's going to vote for the Democrats because of this? How does this swing extra votes for them? I don't get it. I think it's really dumb political strategy.
Kirk
it's not like you're going to get more votes than the United Auto Workers. You already have their votes.
Yeah, Kirk says, to my mind, Tesla doesn't need White House promotion. Biden administration is trying to help other domestic manufacturers.
Well, help them how? I mean, having meetings doesn't help them. And if they pass the tax credit, it's going to do more for Tesla than it's going to do for anybody else because the rest of them can't even make the vehicles.
Elon for future president of the Federation. I don't think Elon wants to be president.
No. Elon doesn't want political jobs. Elon wants to be an engineer.
Yeah.
He wants to make stuff work. Let's see.
There's a lot of comments.
Garvin says Bernie Sanders made a speech in the House floor chastising Elon for being in control of the U.S. space industry. I missed that speech, but I would say Elon's doing an awfully good job for the U.S. space industry because we actually have one now.
Yeah.
We didn't have a space industry before. Now we have one. We have one that uses American engines, not Russian engines. This should be a good thing. But of course, Bernie Sanders is a fan of the Russian Empire. So
Elon is a small libertarian. Do you believe?
Small L libertarian. Small L libertarian. He means he's not a member of the Libertarian Party, but he has libertarian views.
Oh, okay. Do you agree with that?
I think Elon's sort of all over the map. I think he's somewhat libertarian. For those of us who have read Ayn Rand's books like Fountainhead and Atlas Shrugged, Elon is the closest thing we have to a Randian hero. But he's not really a Randian hero because a Randian hero would not work with the government, and Elon works with the government. But he's pretty close. He's pretty close to Hank Rearden, who's developed Rearden Steel, Rearden Metal, which You know, you think they came up with a new alloy of steel for Starship and a new alloy of steel for Cybertruck and new alloys of aluminum for the castings. A lot of this, if you read Atlas Shrugged and you read about Hank Rearden, he's a pretty good fit for Hank Rearden. He's much more than that. He's better than any Randian hero. But
I'm going to do a hard left turn on the conversation. I made a video about this recently, about Elon saying that the biggest threat to our civilization right now is the population decrease.
I'm going to turn that on you, though.
And you have a shirt that says, "Let's make babies."
Not this shirt, right?
I know, but you do. And
Yes.
and I think you would agree with him.
It's really simple numbers. I mean, the math is really straightforward. If the average woman has less than 2 children, if women are half the population and the average woman has less than 2 children, let's say the average woman has 1 child, and you have a population of 100 people, so 50 of them are women. Then the second generation only has 50 people. Then the third generation only has 25 people. Then the fourth generation only has 12 people, and human population goes extinct. Now, I don't think we're down to the average woman having 1 child in many places, but you know, you just take the same math and you say, okay, the average woman has 1.5 children. You go from 100 to 75, you go from 75 to 50. It starts to decline, and the human population goes to 0 in the long run. And it takes a long time to get there, but we have this trend of declining birth rates, and I don't see what's going to turn that around. So it's really on you. I can wear the shirt, but you're the one who has to have the babies. So they're not going to be mine. Just to be clear for everybody, they're not going to be mine.
Oh boy.
What do you think of that? What do you think about putting the burden on women to have more children?
I talked about this in my video. I feel like I'm seeing more people that like don't want to have kids. You know, in my circles, maybe not in your circles. We have different circles, right? But
No, I would say the same.
Yeah, I feel like that is, you know, whether it's for ethical concerns or, you know, financial concerns. You know, I think people are getting married much later now. I think
this is a generational thing. I'm significantly older than you, and my sense from my generation was that we were all raised to believe, like from all kinds of messaging from all over culture, whether it was from within our families and from mainstream media, sitcoms, TV shows, whatever we read, there was this underlying message that one of your jobs as a human was to find someone to marry and have kids with. And that was sort of like commonly expected of my generation. And I don't think my daughter's generation, which is younger than you, I don't think my daughter's generation has gotten that message. And I suspect that your generation didn't get that message in the same way.
Well, maybe that message also, it was like, that's how you were successful, right? In your generation, like
it was just, that was a mark of what you were supposed to do. So, you know, it's and there's a lot of reasons for it, but I think fundamentally we were a more religious society, and religion said, be fruitful and multiply. And, you know, as populations become wealthier, they tend to become more secular. They tend not to be as religious. And so the religious message dies out. Even within the religions, I think the religions push that message less. And then there's this environmental strain of thinking, which is totally wrong, that the world is overpopulated and the Earth can only carry so many people, which is absolutely false, and has been false every time people have said it. Kev right now is saying that population decrease is better for the planet, as the planet cannot carry on with an expanding population. Totally false. The Earth is fine. Go look up George Carlin. The Earth is fine. The Earth is fine. The Earth is a huge planet, and humanity does not put that much of a burden on the planet. And our technology keeps getting better and better and better, and the Earth can handle a lot more people. But if we want to expand to the stars, we want to expand to the other planets and the stars, we need a lot of people. However,
if that is wrong, why is that so widely spread, that idea that, you know, we can't handle anymore? Because that's what I've heard from a lot of people, that it's better for the Earth to slow down and we're overpopulated. Why is that?
Total crap. They've been saying things like this for centuries. Malthus said that, you know, we were going to starve, everyone was going to starve because we weren't producing enough food. There was a famous debate more recently with like Stephen Jay Gould and somebody, and every time people say that, they end up being proven wrong. And they just keep saying it. It's like this natural pessimism that's part of humanity. It was totally false. I just like that white male said your foundation is off, makeup is nasty. I'm sorry, I'll work on my makeup. I guess I got my makeup wrong. I'm teasing you.
Who said that?
You. It's an inappropriate comment from someone named white male, and I assume he's talking about my makeup.
He's not. He's talking about me.
Nothing wrong with your makeup. You're fine. So come
on, people, be nice. Be nice.
Yes, Mitchell nailed the George Carlin bit. So
don't worry, Tesla bots will populate the world. That's
and
what
this is
Mike
another one.
says.
Another one of the arguments about why we have this, why people aren't having kids. Cronus 83 says, in the 40 years since my birth to today's birth, cost went from hundreds for birth cost to $10,000 for birth costs. It's crazy, natural process costs so much. So there's this theory out there that people can't afford to have kids anymore, but we've never been wealthier. Humanity has never had more, and as societies get wealthier, they have fewer kids. So that notion that we can't afford to have kids is silly. It's that we've become so materialistic that we all think we need to have the fanciest new car and the big house before we have the kids, which means we have to wait till we have kids, and then we wait too long, and then it's harder for the women to get pregnant because they're not 25 anymore. And fertility gets hard when a woman's 35 and up. So
food wastage is at an all-time high. Fact.
Yeah, I mean, that's another thing you see. I keep seeing these things where people are going to go hungry. Like the biggest problem for the poor in America today is obesity. The biggest nutrition problem is obesity. It's so silly. Let's see. It's better for the Earth to reduce the population, but economically we need to at least expand or maintain. It is not better for the Earth to reduce the population. The Earth is so much more massive. If you took all the humans together, 10x our population, Earth would not notice the mass. We are fleas on an elephant's ass. We're nothing.
Everyone gets a child tax credit too.
Yeah. Remember old maid at 16. I don't remember that. All right, you got one person says you're beautiful. John Rosner. You got somebody on your side.
It's funny because I'm not even wearing foundation today. I did get a spray tan though, I'm gonna be honest.
Serial Port says, speaking of population, is SpaceX working on life support systems to get to Mars, or are they contracting this out? SpaceX is working on life support systems. I talked to a SpaceX engineer on occasion, friends with her on Instagram, friends with her on Clubhouse, and she works on the life support systems for Falcon 9, for Crew Dragon, and she also works on it for Starship. So they are working on that, yes.
I think some people might not know what Clubhouse is. Can you tell them what that is and how they can tune in maybe to some of those conversations?
Clubhouse is an app on iPhone and Android both, and there's a group on Clubhouse called Tesla Universe. There's a lot of people on that particular group where there's a lot of interaction. Basically, it's an app where you fire up your phone and you plug in and you start finding groups of people talking about different topics.
Can anyone listen, or do you have to be invited?
I believe anyone can join, and then you have to look around and find groups that you're interested in. And if you know somebody who's on Clubhouse and you ask them, they'll invite you to join certain groups.
Just figured we'd let people know because some might be curious.
Bob Chanel says it's not the mass of people, it's the pollution each one generates. We don't generate that much pollution. It's exaggerated. As we shift to solar and wind and battery storage and electric vehicles, we're generating less and less pollution. We're solving that problem. It's not a huge problem in the first place. The Earth is fine.
Here's another $1 million question. Prediction on first SLS launch, Warren.
I have no prediction on that. I don't pay attention to SLS. I just want to say though, on this idea about the environment and humanity, all this stuff. This is we have a choice, right? We can either get the birth rate turned around or not. And you can say, well, the Earth will be better off without us. Well, then humanity doesn't exist at all. And who's there to appreciate that the Earth exists? And it's this really bizarre mentality that a lot of people just don't care about the future of humanity. I think the future of humanity is very important. Elon thinks the future of humanity is very important. People are like, well, if humans go extinct, it's better for the Earth. No, it isn't. The Earth doesn't care. Human consciousness is really, really important. As far as we know, there's nothing else like it in the universe, and we need to preserve it and spread it.
Right.
And if you don't care about that, I don't know what kind of value system you have, but it's crazy.
You know, Elon did say best case scenario, he thinks we can get humans to Mars in 5 years, worst case in 10 years. Where do you think it's realistic? Elon said that best case scenario, we get humans to Mars in 5 years. Worst case, he says 10 years. I'm curious where you think we sit.
So it's 2021 now. There's a launch window in 2022. I don't think that SpaceX will be able to get a launch to Mars in 2022, but then there's 2024. It's every 26 months. So 2024 is another launch window. My hunch is that SpaceX will launch 3 to 5 missions to Mars in 2024. That will be cargo only. And, you know, hopefully they will all land. If the first one doesn't land well on Mars, then the second one, you know, hopefully the second mission learns from the first and the third learns from the second, and they're actually able to start sticking landings. If they manage to stick enough landings, then it becomes viable to send humans in the next launch window. So the next launch window after 26 would be, I think, 29. Or sorry, after 24 would be 24. So yeah, the next launch window would be 26, and that would be roughly the 5 years Elon's talking about. I think that's pretty optimistic. I think it's more likely 26, you see a lot of cargo missions, and then 29, you send humans. Because you want to make sure you're going to stick the landing. You don't want the humans to get there and crash.
Paul says Elon time means 20 years.
And just to address, Mitchell says there are YouTube channels about this issue about population. Many women are being way too picky, all looking for top 5% of males. You don't have to comment on that. And the other 95% of men are invisible to the majority of women. I've definitely seen those channels, as known as the red pill channels. And I think that there's some truth to them and there's a lot of non-truth to them. So it's not that simple. But there's a lot of issues going on.
Well, I think we're making some people angry talking about it, unfortunately. This is just
Really?
like friendly discourse, you know? This is something that Elon has talked about, and I'm just getting your opinion, you know? So
it's an Elon topic.
It is an Elon topic, but we're pissing people off. So let's talk about something.
All right, we'll move on.
Travis, I volunteered to inhabit Mars with Eliana. Well, I guess we would have to go to Mars first to do that. Can you imagine actually going to Mars, Warren, like the journey there?
Yeah, so it's not for me because I have children. I have adult children that I want to stay in touch with, and the communication between Earth and, first of all, you're going for it's a 30-month trip.
Yeah,
it's 6 months there, 18 months on Mars, and 6 months back. So it's 30 months away from your family. So if you don't have a family, no big deal. If you have a family that you really value being in touch with, and you want to see your children grow up and all the great things that happen with your family, then going to Mars it's a pretty bad idea. And then even the communication, like you're not going to FaceTime. It's a minimum of, I think, 12 minutes. Maybe it's 4 minutes is when they're closest, and 30 minutes is when they're farthest apart, something like that. So you basically send a message. The message takes minutes to get there, and then if somebody wants to reply, it takes minutes to get back. So you just have very, very difficult communication home. So because I have adult children, because I'm hoping to have more children, Mars is not for me.
I was going to say, have you been open about wanting to have more kids?
Sure.
And is it because Elon inspired you?
No, I wanted to have more kids because I really enjoyed having kids, and they turned out great, and I want to do more.
I didn't know if that was a secret.
I've talked about
it. Oh, wow. These comments are just, any chance China is first to Mars, Gregory says.
I would say that seems unlikely. I mean, a human mission to Mars would be very dangerous without having test landings. SpaceX is going to be able to do long trips to Mars for fairly inexpensive, by standards of normal space missions. The cost of SpaceX sending rockets to Mars won't be that expensive. So SpaceX will be able to do test landings and see whether they're able to do it well. Doing a human landing on Mars without having that kind of testing regime would be very, very dangerous. Would the Chinese be willing to sacrifice astronauts for it? I suppose so. What would the gain be? I mean, especially, are you gonna be able to bring them back? I don't know that they would need to have a plan for how to get their astronauts back. SpaceX has a plan for how to get there and get the astronauts back. So I think it's very unlikely that China would be first.
Oh man, people are really debating about this.
You might want to turn on slow mode if you know how to do that.
No, I don't. Okay. David says people should only have kids if they want them. Otherwise, by definition, the kids will feel unwanted.
Yeah, but people should want to have kids. I mean, you have to face reality. If we don't have more children, then humanity will go extinct. And you either care that humanity goes extinct or you don't. If you don't care about humanity going extinct, I guess it doesn't matter. But if you care about humanity going extinct and you don't want humanity to go to extinct, then we need more kids. B. Guzman says Warren seems like a know-it-all. Yes, I think I know a lot. I know there's a lot of things I don't know, but you're correct. I'm happy to offer my opinions on any subject.
Ooh, Salty Jim says, can we go to Mars in the Zuckerberg metaverse? Probably.
Yeah, that's probably available, but that doesn't excite me.
No, it doesn't excite me either. I'm not excited about the metaverse. I haven't. What about you?
I have not paid any attention to it at all. I think that metaverse sounds like I don't think Facebook's going to be in charge of the metaverse. I'll say it that way.
Elon ridicules the metaverse.
Yeah, Mitchell says that we are too old as well. Mars will be for younger generations. So I think there's a certain age where somebody might decide, okay, my kids are full adults now and they don't need me anymore. And I could go. But then the other side of it is, for me, like, Mars needs people who are useful. And despite my being a know-it-all, I also know that I'm not very good with my hands of engineering and, fixing things. Like, I'm the guy that, if there's an air leak and they got to figure out how to plug the air leak, they're going to stick the lawyer in that.
Stick the lawyer YouTuber.
Yes, stick the, we got to plug that leak, stick Warren there, have him hold it off until we can figure out how to fix that. I'm not the guy you want in that situation. So you want people who are skilled, and I'm not that skilled.
See, you guys, this is why the conversation goes off topic, because we're trying to interact with you and we read the comments and then we're talking about something new. So I just want to clarify.
Yeah.
We do want to talk about,
This is a good question from Jeff. Do you believe we need artificial gravity for the trip to Mars and back? Do we need artificial gravity? No. Would the trip be better for the astronauts? Yes. I've seen some ideas for the ways that you could make, basically using rotational mechanics, making sort of a rotating Starship trio, making that work to get to Mars where there'd be some level of artificial gravity. But I don't think it's likely for the first few missions. I think the first few missions the astronauts are going to have to do a lot of exercise, just like they do on the orbital space station, and it'll be good enough. So
if you actually lived on Mars, then you would enjoy the metaverse since you can't go back to Earth.
I believe that you will be able to come back to Earth. I believe that the plan is that Starship will refuel on Mars using the Sabatier process, and it will be easier to get back to Earth than it will be to get to Mars, because you can take off the Martian surface with just Starship single stage to orbit and get back to the Earth with just Starship. You won't need a super heavy booster to get back.
Gregory, which, by the way, I see your comments a lot, Gregory, so thank you for being so interactive. He says China doesn't worry about cost. The prestige would be phenomenal.
China doesn't worry about cost, but the cost of a Mars mission without SpaceX's technology would be trillions. It's just so expensive that they do have to care at some point.
Warren, you are not a know-it-all. However, I experience you over time with Ellie. You get a bit Debbie Downer on aggressive moves by Elon and SpaceX.
I don't know. I get excited about Elon's aggressive moves. I think the switch to stainless steel was really cool. I think what he's doing with Raptor 2 and pushing hard on Raptor 2 is really cool. And I'm excited to see what ideas he has for the next generation of engines.
Okay, this is stupid, but what's a meta? Nothing. What's a meta with you?
Thank you, Marcus.
We need some laughter in this Monday, am I right?
That's right.
Watching the documentary movie The Martian, LOL, they have artificial gravity with a rotary hamster wheel.
Wasn't that like a quasi documentary? It's like not really a documentary. It's like a that's not the Matthew. That's not the Hollywood movie. That's like I think it was a James Cameron, whatever. They put together this thing that's sort of a fictionalized trip to Mars. It's meant to be scientifically accurate. But they didn't use Starship, so it wasn't.
See, now people are wanting to talk about Cybertruck.
I'm excited about Cybertruck.
So
I think Cybertruck is coming. And actually, I don't know if you saw the tweet. There were some images of Cybertruck, and you could see sandbags in the back of the truck, which suggests that Tesla is actually sandbagging, and Cybertruck is coming sooner than they said. So,
well, wasn't it like delayed again recently? Like what
it wasn't
is
delayed
this?
Again. It was the same delay was repeated.
Okay, so when
The same delay was the delay that Elon already said was restated.
When
so
do
I
you
don't think but then there was this tweet, there were these images from Cybertruck reveal, and you could see sandbags in the back of the Cybertruck, which is a suggestion that they're actually sandbagging the timeline and it's going to happen sooner than they said.
Okay,
so who knows whether Elon's messing with us or, Elon loves to mess with us.
I actually didn't see that. That's interesting. I mean, I know that he tweeted that he was driving it around Giga.
Yeah.
So wish we could have seen that, but.
Brandon Music says, I heard that Elon said Raptor is an A+ architecture for an engine. What makes it so good? Is it any different than space shuttle engines? It's a combined cycle. I forget the term for it. Everyday Astronaut has a great video on what's special about Raptor. Full combined cycle, full flow, something staged engine. Look at the Everyday Astronaut channel. He has a video explains what's so special about Raptor. It's like sort of maximized efficiency. And then that makes me wonder, well, if this is the most efficient possible engine, then what's the experimental design going to be?
Didn't you pre-order like 2 Cybertrucks?
Yes, I did.
Hey, didn't you recently get some little kids toy?
Oh yeah, we're gonna be making the video driving it this Saturday.
Okay, what is it?
I got the Cyberquad for kids.
And
we did an assembly. We did a unboxing video and an assembly video. And next on Saturday, we're going to do a driving video with my friend's 12-year-old boy riding the Cyberquad for kids.
What do you think about it?
It's cute. It's just something goofy to do.
Yeah. Okay. Marcus says, I passed by Giga a couple months ago. It is so enormous in person.
Yes, it is.
Can't wait to see it.
Almost a mile long.
It's crazy.
Yeah. And there's so much land around it. Like I believe SpaceX might be building a facility across the highway from it. I don't know what the status of that is. I haven't seen anything new yet. But there's reports that SpaceX is going to be building a facility on the other side of the highway.
Well, isn't it a battery facility?
The batteries will be in Giga, Texas, but across the highway, the rumors they might be building a Starlink factory.
Oh, okay.
There's a lot of rumors. I mean, I am fairly confident that SpaceX is building something on the other side of the highway. What they're building, I don't know.
Gotcha.
But I have reasonably good sources saying that it is a SpaceX facility coming.
Ellie and Warren, would you go to the moon if the opportunity came up? Hell yeah.
Yeah, so the moon is a much easier trip.
Yeah.
Mars is a 30-month trip. You're not back for 30 months. The moon, you could go for a week or so. So I actually applied for the Dear Moon mission, which is the Japanese billionaires.
I did too.
That's a 1-week trip. So, you're not away from your family that long. The communication lag between Earth and the ship is not that long. So
I also applied for the Who Wants to Be an Astronaut show that they are supposedly making, but I don't know if they have any update on that. So yeah, but that would be sweet.
Yeah.
In space, can they hear you honk?
No. Tim Morris says, Ellie, if Elon agrees to build a climbing wall inside the high bay in Florida, will you start putting applications to some Florida TV stations around the Cape?
I would just
she'd climb it. She'd climb it for sure.
Yeah, I would absolutely. Kidding me? I know that my friend Austin, who lives at Starbase and works at SpaceX, he wants a climbing wall to be built in Brownsville, and I think that is a stretch.
I take this Tesla question, Samut Sarud, or its
Yeah.
comment says, current price per mile for Uber and Lyft. The cheapest price per mile you get is $1.28 per mile. Tesla needs to come in at 99 cents because they have an option. They don't need to go lower. So I think the average cost per mile for Uber and Lyft is around $2.50 a mile. And I've paid $5 a mile sometimes for Uber and Lyft. So my expectation is that when Robo Taxi Network first goes live, it's really more about pricing it so that you don't create too much demand and people don't have to wait too long for a ride. If you price it too low, then too many people want to go for a ride and you don't have enough robo taxis to satisfy demand. So it's just more about pricing it so that you don't create long waits. So it'll initially be priced higher, it'll be priced close to Uber and Lyft, and as they roll out more robo taxis, the price will come down. You don't want the robo taxis sitting there doing nothing either. So you got to lower the price enough so that the robo taxis are operating. And the profit, the cost to Tesla of operating a robo taxi is going to be like 15 cents a mile or less. So if you get 50 cents a mile, it's better than if you're operating at 50 cents a mile, it's better than not operating at $1 a mile. So
I will say Mitchell did comment saying they're building a cathode plant, which is what I thought I saw. So I'm not sure if it is for Starlink after all.
Well, I mean, there's multiple pieces of land around there that they can do a lot of different things.
Yeah.
I have heard rumors about cathode, but I haven't seen anything more solid on that. Reed asks, have they selected the astronauts for Dear Moon? As far as I know, they have not. I think they're a ways off of the Dear Moon mission. I think the Dear Moon mission is going to wait until Starship launches, and they've got to get the life support down. So the Dear Moon mission is probably like 2023. Maybe.
Can I show you something more?
Sure.
I made a business card, so I'm going to be handing these out at when I go to
very nice
Brownsville.
Very nice.
Surprise. Will Elon marry a Martian?
No. That seems unlikely.
Yeah.
Don Key wants to retire on an O'Neill cylinder. That sounds pretty cool. Who said, proving an astronaut, I would rather end worldwide poverty and usher the new age of artificial Aquarian abundance. I don't know what that means, but worldwide poverty will never end because somebody will always be poorer than somebody else, and whoever's the poorest will always be considered poor. So there's this fiction that you're going to end worldwide poverty when you have to define the goal, and the people who are the poorest people in the world are not poor because of a shortage of technology or resources. They're poor because of bad government and wars. And we have to end wars to end poverty. And like I said, you'll never really end poverty anyway.
Ooh, I like this question. Greg Smith says, Ellie and Warren, are you fans of The Expanse? Yes. Have you seen that show?
Seen the whole thing.
Okay. You like it?
I mostly liked it. I mean, I think the early episodes are pretty good, and then it starts to get a little silly. So.
It was good. Yes. Solid fan.
I think I think the underlying story about the rift between the Earth and Mars, I don't know that I really buy it, but it is kind of interesting. I think there's this interesting question about how much will Earth be able to influence life on Mars? And the answer is not very much, because the trip is so long and it's so hard that once Martians are established, once people are established on Mars and have their own colony, they're going to have to run it themselves. It's going to be harder for humans to get from Earth to Mars than it was for the British to get to America to try to control the American colonies, and that failed, right? The journey is much harder. And it's much harder to get a volume of people there. So the Earth is not going to be able to enforce any rules on Mars. So the idea that the rift that existed was because the Earth was trying to interfere with Martian life, and I just don't think that's viable.
Reed says, Ellie, would you reintroduce Warren for those of us who joined late? Warren Redlich is my friend. He's also a YouTuber. He's also a former lawyer. He's also a Tesla Elon fanboy extraordinaire. We went to
And a Teslaneer.
he's a Teslaneer. Solidly, yes. We went to Boca Chica together last September. We went to Starbase. So he's my YouTube / like Elon expert friend. Is that a good summary of who you are?
We are both YouTubers, both interested in similar topics, and we work well together.
Yep.
And we had a really enjoyable time visiting Starbase together.
I want to go back to that restaurant with the little flautas. Is it flauta?
Yeah.
Flauta?
That's not my favorite dish, but you liked it.
It's really good. Okay.
Deep fried tortillas is not my thing.
Yeah, not the healthiest.
No.
Some of these comments I choose not to read.
Don Key says, do you think Mars politics will revolve around city-states, or will Earth countries lay claim to vast areas and expand and control those areas? No, I don't think Earth can control Mars. It's just not possible. And early Mars will be like just barely trying to survive.
Wow. Yeah. True.
The initial Martian colony will be like, let's just, keep it together and survive. And at a certain point, it gotten to where it's, you're not terrified of dying every day. And then you'll start thinking, okay, it's probably going to be basically martial law, militaristic style of life, astronauts getting along, but somebody's going to be in command and you have to follow commands, and it's not going to be a democracy. At some point when the colony gets to thousands of people, tens of thousands of people, hopefully you're going to have some stability in life, and you're going to need some kind of democratic form of government.
Right.
And I think Elon said he wants direct democracy as much as possible, but even Elon won't be able to control what happens on Mars because it'll be too far for him too.
I like this comment from Andrew. Good day, Ellie. Make Elon an honorary Australian, then Biden might listen to him because we're so bloody friendly. No one can resist, from Melbourne, Australia. Your comments entertain me. Thank you guys for commenting.
Early Mars will be living on canned food. Maybe. I'm not sure if it's canned or if it's freeze dried, but yeah. I think that there's hope for Kimball Musk's company Square Roots, that they might be able to grow food in the equivalent of shipping containers using the techniques that Kimball Musk's companies developed. Todd Wacker says Mars will listen to dollars that enable Mars, but once they're on Mars, the dollars don't matter.
What happened to Tesla's new Roadsters? Still coming out? You would know about this, Warren.
I believe Roadsters pushed to next year at the earliest. There's a chip shortage. There's a battery shortage. The chip shortage right now is a pressing problem. If they focus on making Roadster is a low volume vehicle that's not really the future of the company. It's a nice halo vehicle, and they'll make it at some point probably, but you've got chips available. You got to focus the chips on what really matters. And right now, Model Y matters. So they're focused on building as many Model Ys as possible and as many Model 3s as possible. And once they get past the chip shortage, they're probably going to have enough batteries to be able to focus on building Cybertruck. And they'll probably get, and Semi, and they'll probably get around the Roadster. But, Roadster is not critical for the future of the company. It's not critical for the transition, accelerating the transition to sustainable energy. Mm-hmm. It's not critical for the Robo taxi network. It's not critical for Tesla Bot for the future of AI. It's just a fun toy. So
there will be lots of Xanax on Mars.
Maybe. I think Xanax, you got to be careful though, because I think that's what's called a benzodiazepine, and those are bad long term. You don't want to take those long term. Jordan Peterson got addicted to benzodiazepines, and getting off them was really, really awful.
Gregory says early Mars will be like Antarctica today.
In some ways it'll be harder, in some ways it'll be easier, but yeah, that's pretty accurate. Like being on the top of Mount Everest, it's going to be a hard one. It's going to be hard, but they'll have a lot of resources. They'll be able to land a lot of resources with Starship. Starship's going to be able to carry hundreds of tons, with multiple Starships landing, they'll be able to land hundreds of tons of supplies.
On Mars, there will be a new religion of Marstafari with redlocks.
Okay. Bubba Bomb says, I would really like to talk about the deadly radiation past Earth's magnetic protective field. Ain't nobody going to survive past this point. No, that's not true. They can deal with the radiation. They have techniques for handling it. It'll be fine.
Well, haven't they talked about maybe an artificial magnetic field too?
I think it's just a matter of setting up the ship so that you're surrounded by water. When I think, first of all, I think the radiation is only a problem when there's a solar flare. And when you know there's a solar flare coming, you have to get into a safe part of the ship, which will probably be surrounded by water, and the water will absorb the radiation.
What if you get cancer on the trip to Mars?
Then you get cancer on the trip to Mars. I mean, what if you have a heart attack on the trip? There's all kinds of things that can happen. You choose people who are particularly healthy, you get them checked out, and the odds of them getting cancer in the trip to Mars is pretty low.
What?
Really healthy people.
Oh man, this just keeps going.
Yeah, you got to go into you got to go into slow mode, which is you got to go into YouTube Studio on the first screen. You got to go scroll down below, to do more, and you've got to select slow mode.
What death percentage do you estimate will be faced by the early colonizers?
0. I don't think anybody's going to die. I think they're going to be really careful. I think there's a probability that somebody's going to die, but I think it's pretty small probability. They're going to be very, very careful.
Cannibalism is a concern. Whoa, Salty Jim.
No, cannibalism's not going to be a concern. They're going to land hundreds of tons of cargo. There'll be plenty of food.
Wow, some of these comments are interesting. How are EV manufacturers going to mitigate the high amount of copper used, causing wiring prices to double?
I think that for Tesla in particular, because they're such high margin manufacturers, Tesla can outbid everybody for copper. So whatever the raw material issue is, Tesla is able to outbid everybody else for it because they still make a high profit, even if they have to spend a little bit more on this raw material or that raw material. I don't believe there's going to be I don't think Tesla's having any problem getting copper.
Back to Mars. Greg said, I thought Elon said the first Mars travelers will probably die, which I did see that too.
I don't think he said that.
No?
No. I think he said that it's dangerous, but I don't think he said the first travelers will probably die. He's going to make it so the odds of success, the odds of survival are very high, but there's certainly a risk that people will die. Is Mars safer than Miami? No. Mars will not be safer than Miami. I spent some time in Miami. It's not that bad.
So Elon said it's a dangerous journey where you may not come back alive, but it's a glorious adventure. Sounds appealing. Mars is the place. That's the ad. That's the ad for Mars. Honestly, a bunch of people will probably die in the beginning. This was said in April 2021. Remember that interview where he was like barefoot?
That stuff. I think he's referring to like the trips to Antarctica, the early trips to Antarctica. Brandon Music, thank you for your support for Ellie's channel. Will the first missions to Mars need the lunar gateway built before they go? That way there's some off-Earth refueling. No, refueling will be in orbit of Earth, and that will be sufficient. There's going to be a tanker Starship that will be almost all tank, and other tanker Starships will come up and refuel. Oh, there's a fuel depot, I believe that he's described it as. Going to have a Starship that's like all fuel, and tanker ships will come up and refill the depot, and then the Starship that's going to Mars will fuel off the fuel depot. So there's no, the whole idea of the Martian, what do they call it? The lunar gateway is probably unnecessary in the first place, but lunar gateway has nothing to do with going to Mars.
Mars is safer than LA. Oh man.
Victor Block says Miami Beach at night not safe. I was just in Brickell the other night, and we were the unsafe people, but I would say overall Miami is relatively safe at night.
I still haven't been to Miami. Should I go?
I guess it depends what you like. It's a little wild. Do you like Cuban food?
Yeah. They have like what, fried plantains or something? Isn't that kind of a Cuban dish?
All kinds of stuff. I'm not big on Cuban food myself, but There's a lot of, look, Miami's a fun town. There's a lot of good stuff. So
Amazon, NASA, or Elon? Who was the first
it's
on
no,
Mars?
it's no Salt Lake City. You know, it's not as crazy and as exciting as Salt Lake City.
I feel like there's some sarcasm there.
A little bit of sarcasm there.
How did you like your trip to Utah, Warren?
I like the trip to Utah fine. Now, just to be clear, in Miami-Dade County, 85% of the households speak a language other than English as their first language.
Wow.
95%, I think. It might be 95%.
Whoa.
It's being primarily Spanish, but also Portuguese and Creole. So it's helpful to speak Spanish when you're in Miami-Dade. Yo hablo un poquito de español también.
I do speak some Spanish. So, all right, time to go.
John Ross says the gas tank in space, the fuel depot in space would also be used for moon trips. I believe that it would be used for moon trips as well, yes. Robert White says, is there an orbit for a fuel depot that would stay constantly in Earth's shadow? I don't think that's necessary. I think that they'll be able, I think it's probably gonna be painted white or something. It won't be an issue.
You guys are funny. You guys are funny tonight. Greg says, I bet the crime rate on Mars will be next to nothing.
That's true.
I love it. Spring break in SLC was so wild.
I'd like to answer Don Key. Don Keys, he says, his 9-year-old asks, will Mars skyscrapers ever be taller than Earth's? That's a really good question. I think the answer is no. I don't think, or I shouldn't say ever. I suppose if you went out hundreds of years, it's hard to answer the question. In the short term, as in the next 50 years or so, I don't think there's going to be any need to build up. I think there might be building down into the ground, and they might be building sideways, but I don't see much of an advantage in building a skyscraper when skyscrapers are useful when you have a tight area that you need to squeeze more people in, but Mars has basically unlimited land area. So it's easier to build out than build up.
Well, Warren, we're just a few days away from the presentation. It's really exciting. I have to wrap it up here soon. I appreciate you coming on the Ellie and Space channel, but is there anything else we should recap? Or obviously we're just really excited to hear what we learn. You think we might not learn as much as you want to learn, but
well, first of all, Severio, thank you for your suggestion, but Ellie will not be moving in with me. My girlfriend has already moved in with me. That would be very uncomfortable. So I confess that I am far more attracted to my girlfriend than I am to Ellie, as much as I like Ellie. So anyway, so no, I think that just to recap, Thursday, Elon will be doing a presentation, 8 o'clock Texas time, so 9 o'clock East Coast time, about Starship. My hunch is that we will not learn that much compared to what we already know. Hopefully there will be some great questions. I'm particularly interested in questions about what they're doing at Canaveral, because we don't know a lot about what they're doing at Canaveral, and what they're doing in terms of experimental rocket engine design to go past Raptor 2, and what's the status of Raptor 2 manufacturing as well.
Yeah,
I think those are some good questions. I think he's probably going to tell us about what's going on with Raptor 2, because he's been tweeting about Raptor 2. But will he tell us about the next generation engine beyond that? Is kind of interesting. And will he tell us about, because we already know about the first orbital mission, which is just, soft land outside of off Hawaii. Will we learn more about, will they try to land the super heavy? Originally, I think the plan was not to try to land the super heavy booster for this mission, but given that they now have Mechazilla in place, maybe they will try to land the super heavy booster at Starbase. And then,
and also, when will the date of the launch be? And I doubt.
Well, he's not going to say that, but can he tell us more about future missions beyond the first one? Are they just going to keep trying to do that mission until it works, and then what's the next mission after that? And I think he said they were hoping to do, in the Lex Friedman interview, I think he said they were hoping to do 12 Starship missions this year.
Yeah.
So at what point do they plan to launch Starlinks? Because I think the first commercial payload will probably be Starlink. So when will that be?
I hope Elon talks about regulations.
I have a feeling he's not going to talk about that. All right, so maybe we should wrap it up.
Yes.
So Ellie, thank you for having me on your channel.
Yes.
It was a great conversation.
Nice to chat with you. It's been a minute, so thank you. And we are just, wow. Oh, Dawn, thank you. One of my favorite space channels. Thank you. That's so nice. It has been exciting. The day that I interviewed Scott Manley, which was 2 weekends ago. I hit 30,000 subscribers and I'm just about at 32,000 now. So people are tuning in and I really appreciate it because I'm doing a lot of traveling this year to bring you guys like some serious content. So I really appreciate all the support. I'm not just going to Boca Chica. I have some other trips planned. So yeah, it's exciting.
And real quick pitch, check out the t-shirts at elonbits.com, stainless steel water bottle. Check out my channel, Warren Redlich.
Yeah. Remind us what's your best-selling t-shirt.
This is it, Tesla Air.
Tesla Air.
You either are or hope to be a millionaire on Tesla stock. This is the shirt for you.
So if you get the shirt and you're not already, then you're like helping to manifest that, right?
Well, you could think about it as not that you have $1 million in Tesla stock, but that the growth in Tesla stock has helped put you up over $1 million in net worth. And then, think about where Tesla stock is going to go, because I think it's going to more than 10x from where it is now. If you have $100,000 in Tesla stock now, you'll have $1 million in Tesla stock soon.
There you
go. And then 10 million not long after that.
Well, I just bought a bunch of Tesla shares, so I'm in the club. I'm not in the millionaire club, but I'm
cheap. Good move.
Yes, yeah. All right, Warren. Well, thank you guys for tuning in. We hope that we made your Monday a little more exciting. I don't know if we made it better or worse, but at least some food for thought. Let's see. Yeah, thank you guys for all the nice comments.